Depression, okay? Appetite, sleep, energy, anxiety, irritability, pleasure. That's what it's defined as. But really, there are 4 types of depression. 2 are acquired, 2 are inherited. The acquired depressions are norepinephrine stress depressions, danger anxiety, and dopamine pleasure depressions. These are reversible depressions. They are overuse depressions. They are simple one-note depressions. Hyper-arousal depression, wake up at night, lose your appetite, panic attacks, can't relax, irritability, poor digestion, loss of concentration. It's all hyper-arousal. It can happen to anybody, anytime, anywhere. Put somebody in a little box with no light and water, and this will happen. But if you use adrenaline, and we'll get to this in a second, if you overuse adrenaline, you can put anything in overdrive, but you can't keep it there if you don't rest it. Dopamine pleasure depressions, also overuse, willpower. These can be treated when people have ADD and they come to the doctor and say they're depressed. Very often they are instead treated for inherited depressions. There are 2 types of inherited depressions, much more complicated, much more variable. Serotonin depressions and bipolar depressions. They occur independently from ADD, but it is very important to say that bipolar depressions can be revealed by stimulant or antidepressant medicine. So anyone who is taking medicine for ADD or depression must be aware of the nature of and the risk of bipolar transformations when treated. So let's start with norepinephrine stress depressions. I can't tell you how often people come into my office and tell me that they can't sleep, that they wake up in the middle of the night, and that they're having panic attacks. Now, to me, a person who comes in with panic attacks and middle insomnia has ADD until proven otherwise. Let's try this. How many of you out there have waited to the last minute to do projects that were due so that you could get them done? Oh, gee, everybody. Okay, so when you wait for why do you do that? Because when you're a little bit scared, you get a rush of adrenaline. And when adrenaline is natural Ritalin. Now, you know, when you're a smart ADD person from a high bar family, you're going to do amazing stuff now and then. You're going to really get in your groove, you're going to perform, you're going to get focused, you're going to love something, and you're going to knock it out of the park. And then you're going to want to knock it out of the park all the time. And you're going to start scheduling a lot of stuff for yourself. And maybe you're going to be a high achiever for a while. And then all of a sudden you can't sleep. All of a sudden you're nervous and you don't know why. Why is that? I was doing fine. And then you start to think you're an asshole. What's the matter with me? What's the matter with me? I'm nervous. I didn't used to be nervous like this. Because when you put something in overdrive, if you rest it and maintain it, you can do it forever. If you put it in overdrive and it never rested, you go to the cleaners, well, pretty soon, it's not, you know, and you're in underdrive and you got nothing left. So many of these people tell me, oh, my brother has ADD, my cousin has ADD. Oh, you know, really? I know I didn't have ADD. I could do good in school. We under-recognize it, and then the depressions come in. Okay, so fear is the perception of threat. Anxiety is the physical response to fear. Throughout your life, you develop a very clear idea about when you're supposed to be afraid. If somebody puts a gun to your head and you pee in your pants, you don't call the urologist in the morning. If you're going to get married tomorrow and you can't sleep, you don't think you have insomnia. The fact is, we get nervous a lot, but it doesn't bother us if we think we're supposed to. The problem is that if you run your arousal level too hot for too long, a bunch of things happen. The first thing happens is that your fight or flight starts to change. You know, everybody has a fight or flight. It's a good thing to have it. You know, you're in the jungle. You don't have fight or flight. The saber-toothed tiger gets you pretty quick. You got to be able to mobilize your resources and move when you have to. But if it starts to go off when you don't expect it to go off because you've been too aroused, your fearostat changes. Now it takes less fear to make anxiety go off, and you start, and it goes off stronger, it goes off longer, and it goes off harder. You know, just easier. It comes when you don't expect it. And then you get panic. And this is when you will also often, almost always, be waking up in the middle of the night. The other thing that happens to people with ADD so frequently is a dopamine pleasure depression. And the paradigm for this is, my father owns a factory, I love my father, I work in the factory, I hate the factory. I love my father, I hate the factory, I work in the factory, I love my father, I hate the factory. After a while, nothing is fun, nothing is interesting. You drag yourself to work, you know, and you can't do anything else. And these two things in people with ADD, simple one note, hyper-aroused, under-motivated. And the treatment for this is Wellbutrin. This is also a kind of depression you get when you use substances. Marijuana is a dopamine drug. Alcohol and cocaine. When people coming off these drugs, they have terrible pleasure deficits, and Wellbutrin is a very appropriate intervention for that. And as I say, it's very common in adult ADD.